I've got a few different things to do today. We are going to be doing toys. I know I'm leaving this stream in the Warhammer channel. Don't report me or do whatever. I don't care. But I see that Arsenal Roy's here, so we can start with something that he sent me, which was super awesome. And again, thank you so much. And then I don't know if MexicanRobin is here or yet, or hopefully he will be here, and we'll also look at what he sent in. So I've shown on stream, I opened up the other two. So far I have only 2 figures from the McFarlane DC Comics collection. So I've got the Flashpoint Batman. So it's Bat Dad. It's Thomas Wayne as Batman. And I missed out on the initial run, which had the cowl. So I got this one, which doesn't have the cowl, which is still cool. Yeah, maybe one day they'll re-release the one with the cowl, and I'll get that one too. I've also been thinking of looking for like a 3D printed head that I can just swap out, or finding some other head. Even toys like this where like the neck is really tight, if you heat it up, sometimes you can pop that head off. Yes, technically there is a cowl sculpted here, but I mean, you're never really going to notice that, even if you put on a cowled head. But anyway, cool figure. Love the character. So we got that one. And then more recently... Oh, can I reach it? He's on his little flight base. Let me take it off of there. We got the Superboy Prime, which again was very oddly... the package was very specific in saying that this is Superboy Prime from Infinite Crisis, but it is clearly not that version of the character based on the costume and the different elements that are on there. So kind of weird, but yeah, again, like these figures are great. They're kind of everything you'd want from a medium-ish scale DC Comics figure. Tons of articulation, some of it really well hidden, which is nice to see. Especially like the trunks hide a ton of articulation in the thighs and waist here, which is cool. So, on my Amazon wish list, which if you'd like to check it out, you can scroll down and find a link to it, was this. Boom! Yeah, you can see reflections of like everything else in my room. So this is DC Multiverse from McFarlane Toys. This is Batman of Earth 32 and Green Lantern. I don't know. Oh yeah, and here they have it in big writing. If you didn't see the little one on the cover, you can see it on the side. And Green Lantern, Hal Jordan. Oh man, my man Hal Jordan is getting beat up on a daily basis on Twitter. I don't know if any of you have seen the the legacy arguments and arcs, legacy characters and new versions of characters, and yeah, it's a whole thing. Some seemingly racist. I mean, I don't know how much benefit of the doubt you want to give him, but some guy tweeted out a couple weeks ago, Sam Wilson is not Captain America. Only Steve Rogers is Captain America. Blah blah blah, and it was dumb. And I tweeted about it. I didn't reference it directly because I don't want to give the guy any more interactions, but the icing on the cake was that he's a Hal Jordan Green Lantern account, and then so of course everybody piled on being like, dude, your account is literally named after a legacy character and you can't see that. It's dumb and it's annoying, but a lot of other people have used it to pile on and say how shitty a character Hal Jordan is. And it's like, we don't need that. We don't have to add that to this discussion. Anyway, so McFarlane Toys, as part of the DC collection, has a number of these 2-packs, and they did like a Batman versus, or a Superman versus Doomsday. Oh, that nerd. Look, Hal Jordan, he's always been my favorite, he's my favorite Green Lantern, my favorite comic book character. I grew up reading Hal Jordan stuff, but a lot of people do not like Hal Jordan. They say that he's the most boring of the characters, or they'll say things like, depending on, whoa, got a little shelf diver over here. depending on when the stories are written, that they see aspects of Kyle and John that were later reapplied to Hal after Hal came back into prominence. I mean, something you could argue. I'm whatever. But anyway, like all comic book characters, it depends on who's writing them at the time. And yes, he is a space cop, and that is something we have to get over when we talk about how cool a character he is. So anyway, so McFarlane is doing these 2-packs, often a hero versus a villain. Sometimes it's a little bit more ambiguous, who's the good guy and who's the bad guy in some of these packs, but they're very cool. Frequently, the figures will be sold separately as well, sometimes with slightly different parts, again with like maybe an unmasked or a masked head, oftentimes with fewer accessories. We'll see definitely some cool accessories in here. No, stop it with the Arisia. She's sometimes an adult, depending on your interpretation of the character. And yes, I say it Arisia. I know that's not how everybody says it. In fact, I talk about that in my book. Arisia is awesome. I love. Oh man! And again, that was the era of comics that I was reading when I was young. I'm not that old, but those were the comics that a friend of ours had around when all those Green Lanterns were on Earth together doing stuff. And Kilowog got really interested in the Soviet Union, and yeah, yes, exactly. Very, very similar to Kess and Neelix. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your point of view. All right, so we've got this really nice display. Obviously, you can see it through the packaging. I didn't talk a lot about the packaging. It's all of the DC Multiverse stuff from McFarlane has been pretty much the same, black with the logo, and then pictures on the back. And then we've got, Gotta Catch 'Em All. So there's Shriek from Batman Beyond, Dr. Fate from Injustice 2, which looks really cool. Red Hood Unmasked from the New 52 with the flaming sword, Superman Justice League, and Steppenwolf from Justice League. So, boom. Oh, yeah, and New Frontier. Oh, New Frontier is so good. So we've got the plastic tray with all the parts in it, and then the background with the included character cards, which are good enough, and these sort of generic bases. They do say DC on them. I'll put them those later. All right, so got all of our stuff. Some of it is relatively loose. We're going to get a lot of noise here, so I'm sorry or you're welcome, depending on your point of view about crinkling plastic. I know some people like it as an ASMR thing, but other people don't. This piece, does this thing just... Oh, I can tell a little bit of inside baseball, I suppose. Oh, they're just the little cut ones. I don't like these as much. DC Collectibles, which is no longer around. DC Collectibles, which used to be DC Direct, and it was the DC Comics in-house collectibles company for right before they folded. I don't think it has to do with them folding, but right before they were considering making packs of their action figures with diorama type bases and scenery, which was kind of cool. But then they never did. So sometimes these things require a little bit of cutting, make sure the figures and accessories come out. And slice. Okay, that should be it. Yeah, exactly that, nerd. It's always a challenge to keep up with who owns DC and what Warner Brothers is doing. And all right, hold on. Here we go. Hudsonizer, welcome. How are you? Okay. Now, as you might have noticed, and you can see here, the figures are in very odd positions. for their poses in the packaging. Now, it's nice when you've got toy packaging that looks cool and dynamic and the figures are doing cool stuff. The problem is, the longer these plastic toys... yeah, just put a cigarette in his hand. The longer that these plastic toys are stuck in these weird positions, the more likely that the plastic is going to warp and not be able to come out of these positions. Now, this is a fairly new set of toys, so I'm hoping that we won't have that problem with these, but it is definitely an issue. So, for instance, if you're looking at picking up toys that have been out for a while, or they're older toys, and again, in the package they have these weird poses, that's something to consider. When you open it up, is that toy going to come out and you're going to be able to straighten it out, or are those legs going to be bent based on how it was put together in the package? But yeah, so there's... Doesn't look... Yeah, it looks like it's going to be okay. Again, I wasn't too worried about this one because this is a recent release. And these are the first... I know that Dawnbreaker is available separately. I don't know. Hudson Energy, yeah, hit us. Oh, we're always looking for good news. In this day and age, the more good news we can get, the better. I don't know if Green Lantern is available separately. I'm sure he will be if he's not already. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay, so already there's some cool stuff going on here. Oh, that joint is a little weird. Okay. So good stuff and weird stuff. All right, so you might... Oh, Hudsonizer said, I made it to impromptu finals in the speech and debate tournament I'm competing in. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations. And I hope your success continues. That's fantastic. Excellent. Okay. So if you're looking at this and you say, I know a Green Lantern when I see one, but what the hell is this thing? So this is this is Dawnbreaker. This is Batman, who is a Green Lantern from Earth 32, apparently. And basically in the Dark Knight's Metal Saga, they meet up with evil Batman variants from a bunch of different Earths. And in a sort of epic... what do you call it? Appropriation, maybe? in a bunch of these different Earths, Batman has taken the place of each one of the Justice League members. So in this one, he's Green Lantern. Now, if you remember, I've talked about it before. This is not the only time we've seen Bruce Wayne as a Green Lantern. He's worn Hal's ring several times over the years. In some of the Elseworlds, there's been Bruce Wayne as Green Lantern. So this isn't the first one, but this is a very specific evil version from an alternate Earth. And he looks really weird. And there's like a different lore for this one too. It has to do. There's more to do with light and darkness, and there's a whole thing to it. Now, this is actually my first Dawnbreaker action figure. The only other collectible I have of this character, and there've been a few things, is the HeroClix version, which was a chase from the DC Rebirth set from a couple of years ago. So I've got an itty bitty one, and then this one. So in this chase theme, it was all the different versions of these evil Batmans. So we've got Dawnbreaker. Here's the Cyborg one, the Murder Machine. Really cool figure there. I've got a couple of them. The Red Death, obviously. Batman as Flash. Mine's leaning over a little bit. He's running so fast he's sideways. And then I've got the Drowned, which is, yes, a female Bruce Wayne, Aquaman. Parallel Earths are complicated, people. It's a whole deal. Yeah, I don't know. I read the main storyline for these. I think like the one shot that had to do with Dawnbreaker. I don't think I read all of the comics, so I don't know all the details. But yeah, and then there's another one that's he's basically like a version of Ares for the Wonder Woman world, and then there's a Batman who is a version of Doomsday rather than have like a Batman Superman combo. So yeah, sometimes Daredevil has mommy issues because sometimes she was a nun, right? They do weird stuff with Daredevil too. Okay, so the figure itself. So Dawnbreaker again, he's got this kind of weird thing. So he's a little emaciated, but I mean this figure is just look at all the details on this thing. Tons and tons of sculpted details. Let's see if I can get it to focus, and then we can look at it some more. There we go. So just lots of these little panels and all of this little gross stuff going on in here. A lot going on. There's this little... He's got like a TI-82 on his side, in case he's got to do some math homework. Yeah, exactly, Rabid Wombat. And again, for most action figures, unless you're getting into the really high end stuff, you're gonna get more sculpted detail that's not really picked out by the paint. It's easy to do, right, that nerd? It's you get the sculpt in, and then you're just cranking that out. But then with the painting, like painting actually involves people sitting at paint stations with masks over different parts to spray the paint down. So you're not going to get all of the juicy details in the paint. But yeah, you can definitely, if you're a hobbyist, you can go in there and do a wash, which will definitely bring out all of these details. A little harder to do on black unless you did some dry brushing, which you could do. But yeah. And of course, so he does have. It's a little disappointing that. So he does have a ring, but it is molded. I don't know how close I can get this, but there's no color differentiation there. It's just the same color as his hand, so it's a little hard to see unless you look really close. But there is a ring there. I do really like the neon Green Lantern symbol there. That looks really cool. It really draws the eye, so that's nice. And then, yeah, it's a McFarlane figure. It is super crazy articulated, tons of ball joints. You got the double jointed elbows and knees. This thing is going to get into whatever crazy pose you want. You can do. Whenever I'm doing a review, I always check to see, okay, can this figure do a good running pose? Pretty much, of course, anything with double jointed knees and elbows is going to be able to, especially with the ankle ball joints is great. And then you've got the toe, so you can really do like crouching poses. So yeah, pretty much anything you want to do, you can do with this figure. Lots of these joints are ratcheted, so they're not tight enough where you can hear it ratchet, but you can feel it when you move it. So that gives it even more balance, and it's going to keep those poses. And yeah, and he looks super freaky. Definitely got to be careful. So it's got these plastic things that connect to the helmet. So you don't want to twist it too far and get these things out of whack, or even worse, have them rip off. But they're rubber, so you do have a nice range of motion even on those. So yeah. Oh, let me get my other Batman. Hold on 1 second. Oh wait, it's so far back. Shoot. Hold on. Moving furniture. Okay, I'm back. So I do have. So this is a at this point this is a fairly old Green Lantern Batman figure. Again, from one of the times when he just put on Hal's ring, and this is like classic DC Direct style. T crotch, articulation sucks. Kind of interesting proportions and physicality. And then two, it's a slightly different scale, which is annoying. But yeah, I'll definitely be putting these together. Yeah, looking back at some of these, there was a long period of time when the DC Direct figures were heavily inspired by who was the artist who did all the iconic Batman versus Superman stuff, where they're like just way overly muscled. What's his name? Mick something. Somebody knows who I'm talking about. No, it's not Frank Miller. It's the artist. Like they're just like insanely muscled. What the hell is the name? I'm trying to see if I have one of those figures here. No, what's that? Shoot, I'll have to look up. And yeah, it's not bad. It's just like lots and lots of muscles, really V-shaped torsos. Anyway, I'll find it after. And I think it was Mick something. Mick. I don't know. Anyway, so that is Dawnbreaker, and then we've got Hal Jordan Green Lantern. Now, again, especially compared to the gauntness of Dawnbreaker, Hal is solid. This is a really cool figure. And again, lots and lots of sculpted detail. Look at those. That's cool. Whatever these little designs are here. I like the head. It's good face sculpt. Whoa! He's got a big hole in his back. I think that might have to do with one of the accessories we're going to look at in just a second. That kind of stuff never bothers me. Some people hate it when their figures have holes in the back for accessories and stuff. It's all fine with me. That's good, Arts. All right. When I display my toys, they're all facing forward. You can have a hole in the back. It's fine. There's kind of a cool thing happening with... So you can have issues, like I've been talking about, where your exposed articulation can frankly look ugly, right? If you've got a lot of joints, especially on a thin character, joints can be ugly. That's why I don't mind if a figure has a really good sculpt and not quite as good articulation, because it's hard to hide that shit. So like on Dawnbreaker here, he's got the, you can see the ball in his ball jointed wrists. Not the cleanest look. The paint makes it blend in pretty well. But look at how cool this is. He's got these flared... Oh, let me see if I can get it to focus. He's got these flared cuffs as part of his forearms that help to hide... doesn't completely do it, but it helps to hide the ball joint inside the wrist. So that's cool. Now it does hinder the motion a little bit. It can't fully bend backwards, but it's it's more than enough. Ooh, that's kind of a cool pose. Like he's gonna do a bow and arrow construct. So yeah, so that's all fine. He does have an open hand, so he could grip something. I don't think any of the... Well, we'll see. We'll look at the accessories in a second. Same thing with Batman here. He's got a closed fist and a open grasping fist. Like I've talked about before, I literally have boxes and boxes of accessories and weapons and things for toys, so I could definitely go and dig out some stuff to put in these figures' hands if they don't come with things already. Now for Hal here, he's got some interesting things going on with these shoulder joints, because there are 3 different joints just in this section here. So if you look here, you can see this green part that sticks out here. So that basically hides a forward and back joint. If you can see how that moves a little bit there. So that hides that joint, and then there's a ball joint here in the shoulder. You can see the top where it's open right there. So there's a huge range. Oh, there you can see it open a little bit. So there's a huge range of motion that you can do in that shoulder area. And of course, then there's a cut joint here. So, I mean, anything you want to do with that arm, and plus the ball jointed elbow, plus, or the double jointed elbow, plus the ball jointed wrist. So yeah, there's, you can kind of get this thing in any position that you can imagine or think would look cool on yourself. He's got the crunch in the middle. And again, which is nice, this section here, this lower green section, this is rubber. It's flexible. So it's not going to hinder the articulation under it, even the side to side, but it's going to hide some of the other joints that are going on in there. And again, you can move it. So if you turn them sideways, you can decide sort of how you want that to sit. Because again, it's energy, so it can kind of look however you want it to look. Ball jointed hips, double jointed knees. It's the same kind of stuff as Dawnbreaker. So again, you're going to be able to get this guy in, you know, whatever kind of cool flying pose. His head moves back really nicely. That's a challenge for some figures, for flying figures, to be able to do flying poses where the head tilts back. You have to have a really specific kind of neck sculpt and articulation for that to work together. This one does it really well. Now, there is a little bit of an issue going on with this arm, and I don't know if it's because of the way he was in the packaging. The joint is a little loose, and at the same time, I can't get it to engage the other part of the motion. I don't want to break it. But like I said, with a little bit of heat, you can get joints to loosen up. So I'm going to try that afterward. But for now, it's still fine. You can still do a lot with it. It's just there's one motion that this isn't really, it's not really activating. But that is all good. So yeah, solid figures. Now, I couldn't bring out my entire Hal Jordan collection because I have dozens, maybe 100 Hal Jordan figures, but I did pull out a few that we can take a look at. That nerd, I have a handful of Kotobukiya statues, especially the 1/10 scale statues, but I don't really have, I'm trying to think if I have any other kind of Koto stuff around. Possibly. Yeah, like I said, most of what I have are the non-articulated 1/10 scale, the Artifacts Plus. These are super cool. Some of them a little bit more Japanese, Asian style to them than others. Some of them just look like straight up exactly what you would get from, you know, from any other DC Comics licensee. But yeah, this was from the first series, the first Justice League series, which was very cool. And these have magnets for their bases, so yeah, they're pretty flexible too. But yeah, these are great. Non-articulated, just little statues. Where am I going to put you? Piling up with too many figures here. So again, different scales, so they're not all going to match up. Oh, and Undead Saints fan. Oh, your resin printer's on the way. Nice. Yeah, Undead Saints fan. NECA did a convention exclusive that was a 2-pack of a Yellow Lantern Predator from the Predator movies versus a Hal Jordan. And again, it's this weird licensing thing where NECA, so without getting too much into the weeds with licensing that we've talked about before, but sometimes toy companies will have a license to make certain characters, but only for exclusives, not for sort of standard releases, it's a whole weird thing. And that's what NECA has done with a number of these 2-packs over the years. There was also an Alien versus Superman. And was there another Alien versus Batman? I think there might have been. But anyway, I knew someone who went to that convention, and I thought about having him pick that set up for me, the Hal versus Yellow Lantern Predator, and then I didn't, because it was on the expensive side. It wasn't crazy for an exclusive, but I didn't have him get it, and now that set costs like hundreds of dollars. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. So here are just a handful, a smattering of Hal Jordans, again, in various scales. This was the last scale that DC Collectibles did. It was a little bit on the small side. This is kind of the goofy animated version. I don't know. I don't really like this figure, but it's fine. And then some of the cooler other ones. This one is usually like my go-to Hal Jordan figure. He's a little skinny, but I do really like the details on it. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. It's animated, so it's its own style. So yeah, but this one is just he towers over and is much thicker than most of them. I mean, this guy's pretty thick. This one's got curves. Gotta check the dumpy. Well, and again, that nerd, that might have been one of the ones where they're like, oh, that Hal is just he's just copying things from Kyle, blah, blah, blah. Is he Reacher thick? Well, it's funny. So I've been talking about it. So I'm watching Reacher. The show is fine. It's good. I'm 2 episodes from the end of this first season. And my wife hasn't been around lately because, again, she's working. She's super busy. But she was here. I was watching an episode last night while I was doing some exercising, and she was around. And she's like, "How come they keep talking about? How come they keep talking about how big and thick and tall Reacher is?" And I was like, "Oh, well, it's kind of a thing." I said, "I don't know. I've never read any of the books, but the character is supposed to be really massive and intimidating." And then I said, and I don't know, maybe because the show is really trying to distance itself from the movies and show how Richson is like genuinely twice as big as Tom Cruise. So I don't know if they added more references in the dialogue to sort of play with that. But once she pointed that out, every scene has references to how tall or heavy or, huge Reacher is. And it's pretty ridiculous. And I'm sorry, but now you'll remember that whenever you watch that, and you'll notice that it's so fucking frequent in that show. Kyle Rayner is offensive to people named Kyle. There are a lot of people out there who love Kyle Rayner. I've never been a huge fan, but again, I didn't grow up with him. He was never my Green Lantern. So, yeah. Okay, so we've got the figures. The figures are awesome. They look great, especially, like I say with all the figures. I love to put them through their paces, but eventually I'm going to pick a pose that looks good. They're going to go on my shelf. I'm going to get to look at them forever. And yeah, I mean, these are going to be great with that. So let's take a look at the accessories. We've got this gigantic honkin' Diorama Base thing. And it's rad. I mean, this is so cool. It gives you, like I said, it's sort of like a diorama / display base. If you look very closely, obviously there's like a missile and sort of cloud-like stuff over here, and then this tentacle chain horrific thing over here. No LEDs, but yeah, you could certainly put a little light underneath, or one of those like little LED tea light kind of things. That would be really cool. I wonder if I probably have some. If you look really closely, you'll see that there's a action figure peg right here, and one embedded here, and it's actually got a little foot panel here. I don't know if you can see that. MexicanRobin, welcome. We're going to look at something else in just a minute when we're done with this. Oh, you know what? Actually, before that, let's look at the other pieces. So here we have bats. So Green Lantern energy construct bats with tentacles. So usually you'd see bats that are just bats or held up by smoke, but here the tentacles are actually holding up the bats, which is unique. So how does this attach? Or does it just... No. I actually don't know. I don't know where this is supposed to go. Does it wrap around his arm? Oh, maybe it wraps around his arm. Oh, I think that's it. Maybe? Oh, well, not like that, at least. Yeah, it's probably something like this. Maybe? Maybe. Or does that... No, it doesn't have an open hand. Ooh, that's cool. So something like that. And then he's got a hole in his heel. And again, with this articulation, you can kind of attach him however you want, and then just adjust the figure to suit. So we're going to leave you just like that for the moment. Yeah, that'll work. So we can have him like that on the base with his bats. I love that kind of recently they've really played with the fact that, yeah, traditionally Hal makes a lot of like boxing gloves and stuff like that. But they've turned that now into a reference and shown like why he does that and how those are often, they're very simple, but they're very quick to do and they can be really effective. And it's sort of like Hal's trademark thing. Okay, so then, yes, he has got a Green Lantern themed Rocketeer backpack with flames shooting out the bottom of it, and obviously that plugs into his back hole. Why does a Green Lantern need a rocket backpack? Because it looks cool. Clearly, that is the only answer. And then this thing, if you couldn't tell, is a boxing glove fist. You can see the thumb there, and then it's got energy behind it. Big old Green Lantern symbol on it. So this should fit over his hand. Let's see if it does. I don't think you're supposed to take... Let's see. Sometimes it might be easier if you take off his hand first. Pop. Boom. I don't know. I don't know if you needed to do that or not. Maybe not, because you can. It is pretty see-through. Huh, I don't know. I don't know if the hand would fit all the way through. Anyway, let's just do it like that. Yeah. All right, let's put it all together and see what we get. Attach him to base. Now, to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to use this entire diorama base in my display. I may actually repurpose it. But I have so many Green Lanterns that this might just take up a little bit too much room on its own. Okay, let's see. Now we need the foothold here. There we go. And balance it out there. Good. Just you like that. Ooh, nice. Cool. Look at that. Let me try to turn it sideways. Well, you'll get the... They're going to fall over, but you'll get the idea. So essentially, look at that. Boom. The whole thing there. Awesome. Dun 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 dun. Nice. So yeah, super cool. Lots and lots that you can do with these figures. Fantastic. This thing is neat too. I wonder... You know what I might do is I might get a little like tack or something, or maybe glue this to a little base. Ooh, that's a good idea. I've got tons of, you know, bases around. Glue it to a base so I can just have this on display, because this piece is super cool all by itself. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Just have it be its own little thing. Nice. Yeah, so this is a really awesome set. Again, this is the McFarlane DC Multiverse Dark Knights Metal Green Lantern and Batman of Earth, was it Earth 32 Dawnbreaker set. Super rad. So Arsenal Roy, thank you so much for this. And again, if you'd like to see me feature something, I do have an Amazon wish list. You can find it down below. Anything that is purchased from there, I would be overjoyed to open and unbox, review, build, look at on stream as soon as I can. So with that, let's move this stuff off table here. Move the HeroClix. Ooh, yeah, Rabbit Wombat for sure. Okay. Now, we have recently been looking at some Zoids. MexicanRobin, I don't know if you were here last week, but I did find the one older Zoid toy that I have, which is this, I don't know the name of it, but it's obviously the snail carrier for this line. I really, really loved, because the Zoids themselves were itty bitty. I got to imagine I have them, the little ones, around somewhere. I have some ideas, but I haven't been able to find them yet. But this thing was so, so cool. You open it up, you could put the Zoids on the little stations. They came out like that thing. Oh, it did. But anyway, that thing opened up and the ramp slid out. So yeah, this thing, oh, love this one. Love, love, love. Zoid Mobile Command Center. That sounds familiar. Shidohari, hello! So yeah, this toy was super cool. Put it back. Get back on there. There we go. If it snaps, it means it's working. And again, the front opened up and these little legs folded out. Look at how cute that is. To deploy Zoids, you need to activate the little base, whatever. And it does. It's hard to do. It's hard to do on this surface, but when you roll it, the neck extends and retracts. It's really old. It doesn't love to do it, but it does work a little bit. Yeah, and there's like just a ton of little things, like the back opens, and it just has a lot of like little play value to it. The little turrets rotate. And again, I don't know specifically what line this was. It says... So Zoids first hit the scene in 1983, it looks like. This toy was made in 2001 by Tomy. Yeah. So that's as far as I know. And then, a couple weeks ago, MexicanRobin sent me this, which is awesome. Much more recent toy. This was from... I think this is 3 years old, from Hasbro. And this thing is just epically cool. You build the whole thing, and we'll see more building in just a second. But It's got a battery-powered motor in it that connects to all of these moving parts. Which is super neat. And I don't know how many of these there were at the time. There aren't a whole lot. I mean, I've seen... Mainly I've been just looking on Amazon, but there are a couple in this size, and then there's some smaller ones, which brings us to today, and another thing that MexicanRobin sent me, which is this. So I've been really excited about looking at these littler ones, because again, I do love small scale toys. So this is Phobia. So it's Zoids, Build Them to Battle from Hasbro, 35 pieces in this one. It's on Team Freedom, which is interesting. But yeah, Team Freedom. Phobia / Snare. So I don't know if that's like the Japanese name maybe. And then it does not tell you much. This packaging is in like 50 different languages, which is cool. Arsenal says the folding table I ordered that I'm going to use for dedicated painting table just arrived. That's so cool. It's so great to have a dedicated hobby space. So you got lots and lots of languages on this. If you know the history of toy packaging, there's some really interesting stuff that's happened with different languages on boxes. And in fact, in the Star Wars action figure collecting realm, there is a whole collecting community that looks at, what was it, the Power of the Force figures, where there was a standard American version that was just in English, and then there was the tri-language version that was essentially the same toy, same packaging, except that all of the things were in 3 languages in little notes versus just in English, and that's a whole separate thing to collect and have and scale and all that other stuff. So yeah, it's interesting. And again, it's just for toy companies to make it easier to sell their stuff in different countries if you put a whole bunch of languages on the same box. Now, technically, this thing says it's for 8 and up, but remember, that has to do with the safety testing that the company paid for. And the younger you want it to show, the vastly more expensive it is for the company to pay for that safety testing. And that's why you see toys that just say, for an adult collector, screw the safety testing, they don't have to get anything tested, and they don't have to pay all that extra money. See, on the McFarlane one, it had 12 and up, so they did pay for some testing to be able to have this, in theory, in some stores where, it would be in the same area as kid/adult collector toys. But yeah, a lot of toys that are really just for collectors will just forego that entirely because it's just extra money for that one little note on the package. And if it's not going to help you sell anymore, then who cares? Yeah, Warhammer stuff is... I think mainly Warhammer stuff these days also has 12 and up. Safety testing is also kind of bullshit because, well, most things that have to do with factories in China is bullshit. There's a lot of... let's just say there's a book that's called Poorly Made in China. I don't know who the author... I forget the name of the author, but I've talked about this a little bit before. If you want to know about how things are made, how things are really made, I highly, highly recommend this book. Again, it's called Poorly Made in China. The book's not very long. It'll blow your mind, not in a good way. You will come out of it trusting the products in your life even less than you do now. Oh, thank you very much, Arsenal Roy. But it is eye-opening, let me tell you. about how things are made, the culture of factories. The book is a little old at this point. I think it came out in the early 2000s, maybe. But clearly a lot of the stuff is still the same, and the same sort of culture. Let's put it that way. Yeah, Rabbit Wombat, exactly. Yeah. Oh man, the stories, some of them haunt me. And I'll see something in a store, or I'll open stuff and I'll be like, "Oh, this really reminds me of things from that book." I totally believe it. MexicanRobin, what was it? Oh, the gun sniper. That was the one. Yeah, I had totally forgotten about that. But then when I was looking at stuff online with the toys, I was like, "Oh, that's the one that I thought was cool," because it's like a dinosaur with a whole bunch of guns attached to it. I don't know if it was good or bad. Okay, so we've got all our parts. We'll do a little bit of Nolan. Separate things by color, if nothing else. But yeah, like I said, that book is very interesting. Kind of horrific. Yeah, Mew Couch, exactly. I mean, it's not a surprise. It was just... Oh, that's what it was. Ruiner, hello. So a big thrust of the book, and again, the book was written by a dude who went to business school here in the US, was really interested in international manufacturing and how things worked with China. He went to China, fell in love with China, learned the language, lived there, and he worked as a liaison between companies in other countries doing their manufacturing in China. So he got to meet all sorts of people making all sorts of things and learning about all these factories and getting to talk with them and do stuff. And it's just, wow. I mean, again, you'd have to read the book just to read all the stories. But one of the things that goes on, and I always, I have to use my hands for talking, so it's hard to build and talk at the same time. But a lot of the stories had to do with the factories always try to cut corners to save money, regardless of what they promised their customer. Demon Blight, hello. So in many cases, you, the customer, you'll make a deal with a factory, and you'll say, okay, I want this toy, and the toy is going to be this size, it's going to have this much paint, and it's going to be this heavy. And the factory will approve it. You'll order however much quantity. Months later, potentially a year or so later, you'll get the item in your hand, and it'll be 3/4 the size. And you'll be like, well, that's not what I ordered. We have this record of our agreements. We checked it off. You signed for it. I signed for it. It's in the documentation. And first of all, they might lie. Just straight up, no, this is what we agreed on, even if there's documentation to show otherwise. They'll attack you, like, well, you said it would be okay if we had to make some adjustments, whatever. And then they'll threaten to stop all future production. Oh, you don't like it? Well, clearly you don't like our work, then we're not doing any business with you. But meanwhile, you already have all the money sunk into it. They've already made the molds, which they might have adjusted. So it's just endless stuff like that, and you can't necessarily trust these factories. So anyway, all of that reminded me when I was at Comic-Con Special Edition a few months ago, and I posted the picture of the booth that was across from me that had the scantily clad ladies with the very voluptuous shapes. So that guy came over and was talking to an artist who was next to me about all of the products that he had and like the different types of things he was making. He had like cards and prints, and he was making like magic mats and different things, like put your art on a bunch of stuff. So he had decks of playing cards that had all of his art on there, or the art from all of his artists. And the lady next to me, again, she was an artist, so she was looking at the cards, and she was like, oh, these are cool, but it's a little odd because they're not quite standard playing card size. They're a little bit shorter. So, if you had them next to a deck of playing cards, like, they'd be a little smaller. And the guy's like, yeah, when I made the deal with the factory in China, it was for these on playing cards that were standard size. But when I got them, they were a little smaller. But that was the run, and I couldn't order another run, and I'm hearing this, and I'm like, oh my god, that's exactly a story from this book. And that is the companies will do anything they can, because oftentimes, like, first time companies doing business in China will make a deal with a Chinese factory and be like, oh my god, I can't believe how inexpensive this is. I can make my toy, book, bath product, whatever the hell it is, I can make it so cheap. How can this be? Well, the reason is the factory will do every single thing in its power to cut their costs and make back their money on screwing you in the end. Use cheaper materials, thinner materials, less weight, less, smaller size. Just, yeah, wild, wild, wild stuff. Okay, so we're gonna build this thing. We've got 2 of these parts, and we're gonna start with this one. And instructions on these are pretty good, or I noticed from the other one I built. They've got some... There's a set of symbols that mean different things. I don't know if it has it on... No, this one's a little bit more straightforward because it doesn't have the battery-powered section. And then on some of the pieces, there are little symbols sculpted in there, so you know which one goes on which side, if there's like 2 sides of something. That's a good question. Is this unique to China or overseas manufacturing in general? Yeah, and I think a lot of these things are mainly China. And again, the person who wrote this book goes into some good detail about sort of the history of China and the history of their industrialization as it is, and as well as how all of these companies interact with the government, which is very interesting. Okay, so we've got... Cool. And again, a lot of the cool stuff about these Zoids is that you've got an internal motor, whether it's battery powered or not, but then it will interact with things on the outside with various things connected to the motor itself. Yes. And then we've got little itty bitty... Okay, so now I gotta make sure I use the right piece. Okay, cool. So they are sculpted a little bit uniquely. And we're gonna essentially connect all of these motorized parts. Nope, did that one wrong. Or did I? Nope, I did it right. Yeah, so you can see how this turning will turn this, which will turn this. Doot, doot, doot. And then put it together. I just want to make sure I'm not missing something before I put a larger assembly together. And again, Shidohari, thank you. I do occasionally paint. It has been a little while since I've painted on stream, at least. I painted that cool Marine for Rob for Secret Santa, so that was my most recent paint project. Ooh, cool, so that sticks out the bottom. Alright, so attach that together. Oh, I see. So you see the gears there stick out just ever so slightly right there. So that's going to make something here move. Cool, cool, cool. Hold on one second. Phone's blowing up a little bit. Give me 1 second here. Make sure everything is cool with my family. They went out for a little adventure while I'm streaming. Okay, everything's good. Good. Cool. Okay, so we've got that. We've got this piece that goes through here. And I'm guessing we've got this one that's going to go here. Like so. Okay, cool. Get that on there. So there were a couple of new releases this week from Games Workshop, so including something I went and picked up yesterday to look at today. So that'll be the next thing. All right, so this piece looks like it goes like that. Maybe. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell how the pieces go. Oh, that's the wrong. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, I had the wrong one. Or did I? So Katu, I thank you so much. Yes, I totally understand. If you plan on not subscribing, I know sometimes it does keep. It still has the message from the last time. And Kale, welcome. Hello. Hold on one second. Kale, I have... Oh, see, McCouch, thank you so much for hanging out. I have the entire collection of, well, this scale anyway, from the Ryan Reynolds film. Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern movie, dog shit. Okay, look, I'm the biggest Green Lantern fan you'll find. Movie's terrible. What are you going to do? But I have all the figures. They were super cool. 100 of them with this same sculpt, but they did them in different versions of the costume. They did comic book versions of the costume, movie version, silly energy effects. They made their own colors. I even have the limited edition. It is numbered. I have 1161 out of 2814 from Sector 2814. So, oh yeah, I've got a ton of these figures. And again, same sculpt, but more of an energy effect. Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be energy, but it does kind of look like he spilled something on himself. One day I could take out all of these and go through them all. But yeah, I have a lot of figures that look just like this with slightly different colors. It was actually a pretty cool toy line because they also had figures that were partly translucent with lights inside. They did some fun stuff with these. A lot of them came with rings that you could actually wear that were like adult size. Actually, these are different sculpts. Slightly. What I think this was another case of them. They wanted. So this one has a little bit more articulation. So not good articulation, but more articulation. So the legs kind of hinge out, and I think they switched to a less articulated but slightly cheaper version for the sort of the mass production stuff. But yeah. Limited edition. Oh, Hal. I need a Deadpool figure to really do that properly. Stay. Okay. All right, but we're building Zoids. And for some reason, I am getting confused as to how this fits together. So it looks like, so this is the first piece, and it goes here. Oh, there we go. Okay, got it. I figured it out. And then this one has to go like that. Yes, look. Now it fits perfectly. Perfect. You're not a true action figure collector if you haven't done some weird stuff with your action figures. I'm just gonna throw that out there. This piece will close over that. So again, and also the Zoids have a lot of this kind of thing where you'll put pieces together that move or do things, and then an outer cover will hold them in place. MexicanRobin, if you're here, or who else can describe the world of... I don't know much about the world of Zoids, but it's a post-apocalyptic future world of battling animal form robots. I don't know what the underlying story is, though. Yeah, this one's rad. And again, these have... They have motion, and like with the... Just a lot going on with these. Yeah, they're super neat. MexicanRobin has hooked me up. He got me that wolf, and then this one that I'm working on now. And I am loving it. Zoids have been around for a while. It's a Japanese property, but there was a cartoon that was on here in the United States as well for a little while, which is what I vaguely remember it from. Yeah, and these toys that I'm working on now are from Hasbro, and they came out a few years ago. Alright, that goes there. Oh, and then there's the head. Head. Goes on there. So this one is a spider creature. Shidohari, excellent question. On the very bottom, there's a hatch for the battery. Yeah. Close that in there. Got the little top of the head here. For those who haven't seen the messaging just yet, you are definitely gonna want to come back tonight over on the Jessica Nerdy channel, where she and I and Solkatsu here are going to be doing a very important job. We're going to be ranking the Muppets. Yes, you know the Muppets. By how much we want to bang them. This is what we do. We are adults. Yes. There will be ground rules we will set out of some kind. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to be. I don't know how we're going to rationalize all of this and explain it, but it will happen. Okay, so here's something that I wanted to... Hey, look. Jim Henson and Brian Henson, they were into some wacky stuff. And they were definitely into some sexy stuff and weird stuff. So I think they'd be cool with this. Star Pilot 6, hello. Although, yeah, we've already had some people put in their their opinions. One thing I really like about these is when you have parts that go on either side that are very similar, and it's kind of tough to tell, like, which of these parts goes on which side. If you look really closely in some of them, like I said, there are these little sculpted symbols, so you can tell which one goes where. This one is like a it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, there we go. Little box with a little thing in it, and then you look for that, and it is right in there. It's hard to see, but it's in there, which is really great. So you can see where the different parts go. Oh, I see. Okay, and then, so that goes in like that. And are all of these, I think all of these are the same. That's another handy thing, when they just repeat the same part a bunch of times, and then you just stick them wherever you need them. Which is always good. Does this pop down further, or does it just stay like that? Or am I putting it in the wrong way? Ah, put it in the wrong way. That would help. Oh, I see. It goes that way. So then, the other thing that these things do is you put the pieces, there's often these pegs that go like that, and then they have these rubberized, these rubber, it's not going to focus, but these translucent rubber pieces, and those hold other parts in without locking them in completely. So it still gives them flexibility and movement, but they're not going to fall out. Like that. So in theory, all of these will fit in. 4 to a side, because this is an arachnid. It's not a bug. Well, it's not an insect anyway. See, these are the exact conversations I am so excited to have tonight. Everyone's opinions on the the sexual preferences and proclivities of the Muppets. So there's a lot of movement in these, like that. And again, they're all held in by these rubber. You can kind of like. Alright, so we've got that whole section. Now we need to turn that around, and it goes... Ooh, which way does it go? Like this. Yeah, so I've talked about Beast Wars before. Beast Wars is a thing. There are a lot... Beast Wars of Transformers. There are a lot of people out there who really, really, really love Beast Wars. It was, for a whole generation, that was Transformers. That was what was on. That was what you had access to. This was after G1 had been off the air for a number of years. That was not my generation. I am old enough. Yes, I am very old. I'm old enough that I watched G1 Transformers. I was never a fan of Beast Wars. And I know that's a controversial statement, because again, there's a pretty sizable amount of people who love Beast Wars. Like, again, that was their thing. I never really got into it. And then after Beast Wars, there was Beast Machines, which was an early CG of a different kind for Beast Machines. And I actually kind of like Beast Machines. That one does not have a huge fan base. Beast Machines. It got really, really weird. They did a lot of not experimental, but I don't know, maybe some experimental, but a lot of like really weird kind of storylines with identity and almost like metaphysics in Transformers, which was odd at the time. Well, Beast Wars was CG, but it's a different kind. I don't have the words to describe what the difference is. What do you call it? Yeah, it's if you look it up, you'll see it's a different kind of CG. Okay, so we've got this side. Lock that in. Boom. Okay. What's next? Did I miss a piece? Where does this thing go? Oh, here, it's on the bottom. Okay, so this is... So we've got this rider. Now, there are riders / operators. And again, I don't remember the exact story, but I know they battle, they do the whole thing. So she can go here. Another interesting thing about these Zoids, at least the toys, is depending on whether or not you put the riders on there, they have a very different sense of scale. Like, this thing could be some kind of gigantic robot machine, or you could look at this as a tiny, you know, like almost micro thing. But then once you put the adolescent girl on, it's like, oh, okay, well then that very specifically narrows it down in size. She's got little rubbery hands to stick in there, and there you go. So now we know exactly how big it is. Operator, thank you. Oh, is this the... Does this wind it? Oh, yes. Okay, so this... That's cool. Are you ready? Wait, I think it is... What did I do wrong? That should be pushing on that. Ooh, it's so close. Something's not making the connection. What is it? Oh, maybe that was it. Okay. Hold on, let's try that again. I didn't break it. I didn't break it. Oh, it goes on the back. Got it. Okay. Hold on. There we go. I fixed it. Ooh, creepy. That's neat. And again, once it's on the surface too. So these move. And again, these... So 2 out of the 4 are articulated. The other 2 are static, but the whole thing moves. So as it moves, it'll kind of like bump over stuff. That's neat. And then, yeah, this can go... Which way does it go? This way? Wow, my mind just does not see which way it goes. Oh, and then it folds. Okay, hold on. What else? What is it showing me here? Oh, if you take off this part. Oh, it does. Oh, weird. Ugh. It folds up like a spider, and then it can deploy. That's creepy. So it can be all hunched up, and then... That's kind of neat. Some added play value there. Cool. I like it. I kind of like them with the operator. Yeah, right. I kind of like it with the operators off. Again, like there's, I get a different vibe from the toy just like this versus with this goofy anime kid on it. And I have no idea who these characters are. I assume they have names and backstories and whatever else. So yeah, so this is Phobia. Makes sense, right? And again, technically, you could play this as a game. So they come with these battle mats. And what you do is you set it out, you put your Zoid on one end, your opponent's Zoid on the other end. In this case, you wind him up and then let him go. And then whichever one pushes the other one off is the winner. And they've got it for the little size and a full-size version for the bigger ones. So battery operated for the big ones, and then wind up for the little guys. Yeah, like Beyblade or what are the other ones? The ones that pop open. God dang, I hate those things. What are the ones they're balls? Bakugan, yeah. Oh man, my kid got into Bakugan a little bit. Those things are such trash. I appreciate the idea of the world, and some of the designs are really neat of the toys when they open up. But as a game, it is utter garbage. Half the time they don't pop open. They're supposed to collect little magnetic tiles as it's trash. It's a trash game. Maybe Beyblade is better. I've never tried it. Thankfully, he didn't get into that one also. But yeah, right, Kale. They never work. Oh, and they've got the dumbest names. I kind of love the names, even though they're really dumb. He's got one. It's like a praying mantis, but it's the specifically like the black and gray one, and its name is Darkest Mantanoid or something, or Darkest like Marcus, but Darkest Mantanoid. It's so stupid. Yeah, Mantanoid. It's Darkest is the element. Okay. And I know there is some story to it. I don't care enough to learn it. And it was one of those things that, again, Benjamin was into it and he liked the toys and he had a few of them. And then anytime he had like gift money and we'd go to Target and he didn't find anything that was cool, he would just go and pick out a Bakugan set just to get something. And I kept trying to explain to him, which is very hard for little kids, especially when he looks around and he sees my toy room with a million toys of different kinds. But it's like, okay, look, if you have money, you don't have to spend it right now just on anything. You can save it for when you see something that you really like. He's like, no, I want the Bakugan. Ah, fuck. Okay. More crappy Bakugan. Although I will say, Bakugan are great to use as cat toys. Both of our cats have enjoyed playing with the Bakugans. Yeah, this one was... What was this one's name? Shadow Wolf? Shadow something? I think. But yeah, super, super cool. So now my Zoids collection consists of this old thing and Shadowfucker. And then these guys. Very, very cool. All right. So once again, so the two things that I've unboxed and sort of featured today were from my Amazon wish list, which if you are interested, you can scroll down to find a link to. Anything on there that is purchased, like I said, I would be happy to feature on stream and talk about and look at, because I love toys. Lots of different kinds of toys, opening them up, comparing them with other stuff I have around. Oh, some people have said that this reminds them of, speaking of comparing, what is it going to be? Can you guess? I mean, there's robot spiders. It's obvious. So from Ghost in the Shell. Now, I got a controversial take. I am not a fan of Ghost in the Shell. I've tried several different versions that have come out over the years. I just can't get into it. I don't know what it is. I know that there are hardcore Ghost in the Shell fans out there. It does not connect with me ever. I can't do it. But some of the designs are super cool. The Tachycomas are amazing. And I don't remember when I got this, but there was a whole set of these. There's it was, how many do I have? I have 8 of these, and they're all slightly different. So these are Tachycomas. They're robot spider / tanks / things that help out. So they have different versions. Again, you can see there are little differences here and there. The feet are different. So yeah, again, some of them are just like tanks. Some of them do other things. But it's sort of the prototypical spider bot. So usually whenever you bring up any kind of a spider mech or spider bot, people are like, oh, it's like a Tachikoma. It's like, okay, sure. But yeah, they're often really, really cute. So even if you don't like the show like me, you can like the designs and the toys. So we'll leave those. And we'll leave you over there. Okay. Now, fulfilling my destiny that we were in the Warhammer channel today. So I do have to do some Warhammer. It's the rules. Space Marines. You can't have Space Marines going into battle without a captain. And for a long time, captains typically looked like this. Yeah, so for my Tachycoma collection, I have four blue ones, 2 gray, 1 yellow, and 1 green. And they're all about this size. And those are the only ones I have from there. So, old style Space Marine captain, they're typically super gaudy. They've got all this crazy detail. He's got the helmet. He's got some braids. He's got a little symbol over there. He's got the crap hanging down. Decorations everywhere. He's got got the cape. Yes, one day he'll be painted. Shush, before anybody says it. He's got a freaking banner attached to his backpack. So on the battlefield, he's like, "Hey, shoot me! I'm the captain." Just tons and tons of crap. Of course, nowadays people look at this and laugh because it is so tiny. Yeah, Space Marine Captain Fabulous. Exactly. The more you can tack onto your captain, the better. They need to be just super, super fabulous. So more recently, we have Primaris Marines. And the first captain that we got with those is the first of the Gravis captains. So he's Primaris size, he's big, and he is thick and chunky. This is the Jack Reacher of captains. I don't even know how he sees out of that armor with that collar. Look at those heels. Big old chunky shoes. So again, this is the first Gravis armor. So it's a whole okay. So the Space Marines are also identified by the mark of their armor. So they've done, and there's been a million of them over the years. But Primaris Marines are in Mark 10 armor, but the heavier ones are called Gravis. So yeah. And they've done this one in 2 different base plastic colors. Same model. They just ran it in 2 different colors. One day these will be painted, so we don't have to worry about that. The Jack Reacher of captains. I know this is almost that size. So this was like I said, this was the original one. We have had some other Primaris captains that aren't in Gravis armor. So we have this dude who again shows off just how swanky it can be with just all these little decorative bits and bobs all over him. Solkatu, very good question. Any reason to go with a different colored plastic? Does it change how it paints? No. No to the last part of that. So anytime you have a model, you have to prime it before you paint it, which means you're going to cover it over with a base primer color. So the color of the plastic almost never matters. In very rare cases it could. What they did with these is they just ran these in different colors for different starter box sets. So the big standard box set was in gray, which is the typical plastic they use. But then some of the other stuff that's aimed at like beginners, sometimes they'll do in blue just to have some difference. But again, it's the exact same model, same number of parts, same push, easy fit together. They just ran in a different color plastic. Small penis syndrome. Another very good question, because it's a huge debate whether Space Marines even have a penis or not. They are completely asexual, although they are technically still male. It's a whole question. I do quite like this one. This is he's in the slightly more stealthy armor. Although again, just he's got so much stuff dripping off of him. The base model for this originally came with an unhelmeted head. Of course, I said fuck that and found a helmet to put on him. He's got some cool stuff. Yeah, and look, yes, technically that is his helmet he's supposed to be wearing. But I have a whole. Oh, sorry, hit the camera. I have a whole explanation for why some of my models have a helmet attached to them as well as a helmet on their head. because his sculpt came with that, and that would have been very difficult to remove. But again, I have a reason for that. Mel Pimento, thank you so much. 14 months and done. I appreciate it. Unsullied in space, yeah. Exactly. So again, there are various captains. Oh, and then the most recent captain we got before this week is this. Look at this badass motherfucker, who again is just like how much crap can we put on a captain? He is just again dripping in swag from top to bottom. Look at all this stuff. Look, he's got a shield with a person on it. His backpack has extra crap on it. He's got that sword over there. He's stepping on somebody. So this was cool. Yeah, like a Warcraft character. Well, some people, and again, kind of interesting, some people were complaining that models like this were getting a little bit away from the, yeah, drip. He's got the drip. That these were getting away from like the grimdark gothic feel that a lot of people associate Warhammer 40k with. So they took it to 11 with this. In some people's eyes. So now, this week, we got this. So this is a new Space Marines captain in Gravis armor. So he's similar to this guy, but with a bit of a different loadout and a new sculpt. And we're going to check out what he's got. Right? Yeah, for Valentine's Day. Exactly. I don't know, scissors here. Shoot. These packages are always easier to open with scissors, but I will make do with my rusty, crusty hobby knife. Oh yeah, Silkatu. It's all about the skulls, the chains. So per the new normal, or I should say the current normal, this is as a character model. Oh, I'm gonna mash this up. As a character model of some heft to it, $35 American for this one dude. It's not cheap, folks. It's not cheap. But this one is pretty cool because he does have some options and different things you can do with him. Warhammer prices are going up, they just announced. You can't be too upset about it, because if you like these models and if you agree that they are detailed, and they are. I mean, look, this is a lot of detail for a plastic model that is sold at, less than resin or metal prices. These are good. There's a lot of detail to them. So if you like the models, Games Workshop prices have remained really steady for a long time. They did have a little bit of a price jump. Was it a couple years ago or last year? And now they're going to have a little bit of a price jump as well. And yeah, I mean, looking at the prices of this stuff compared to inflation, compared to all of the increase in the costs of plastics and things around the world right now, I really can't complain too much as a consumer. You may be a little bit more picky as to which model kits you buy going forward. Some of the kits are going to increase in price more than others, so it's something to keep track of. And they always make this announcement a while in advance, so you can sort of like, okay, if there's stuff you want to buy, go get it now before the prices go up, which I really appreciate. And again, look, am I a GW fanboy? Yeah, but I also, I also know a fair amount about the collectibles business and how this stuff works and the price of things. Again, I have a friend who he's been in the collectible world producing toys for decades, and he is flabbergasted at the cost of materials and how anybody can afford to make toys right now. So then to hear Games Workshop introducing a price increase that's not out of this world, it's like, okay, well, that makes sense then. Yes, there is an option here with no helmet. So yeah, this is not the knife I use normally, and it is a little rusty, so I try not to use it too much. I have a better one that I'll be using in just a second here. But yeah, again, I think overall, for the quality of the pieces, I still don't think the prices are too bad. All right, so again, we've got 2 sprues, or frame, if you're one of those, 2 frames. We're going to start with the main body. We need parts 1 and 2. So it looks like this one. Again, this kit came out this week, so it is brand new, along with a new, what's called an ancient, so basically a standard bearer. Oh man, so I never like it when the sprue connects to the very, very itty bitty pieces, because you might lose some of that. Must be very precise in my cutting. It'll be okay. Alright. Got that piece. There we are. So you might be asking, why do we need another captain who is kind of similar looking to the previous one? Well, this one gives you a couple new weapon options. Yeah, I try not to... I'm pretty good about not poking myself with these. Oh my god, and if you had your finger too close and it sliced, that would suck. I've never done that. Knock on wood that I don't. Shidohari, that's a good question. That's another thing. I've never really been into Gundam. I have a couple of Gundam toys and a couple of Gundams that I built decades ago, but I'm not really a Gundam guy. I like my robots, my giant robots that transform, so I like my Valkyries, things like that. But yeah, just never a huge Gundam guy. I'm open to it, and I know that there's Gundam series that are very different from the others, and I'm sure there's some that I'd like more. So I'm always open to suggestions. If there's a Gundam series you think I'd like, I'd be happy to receive those suggestions and check them out. And obviously their model kits are fantastic. I would have to either have to find a robot that I really like the style of, or like it for having watched it in a series already, if that makes sense. I did watch Gundam Wing when it was on Toonami way back when. So I had a couple of Tall Geese things. I like that one. For me at least, the older I get, the harder it is for me to enjoy anime that's about little kids doing everything. I mean, obviously that's... Hey, Fadir. Obviously that's a very, the most common storyline, I would say. Just the further away you get in age, for me at least, it's like, all right, come on. These little kids, it's... yeah. Gundam Build Fighters. Oh, okay. Interesting. Oh, and I know that there's a new Gundam series that has like they're like Space Marine size, the miniatures. Those look cool. I saw, well, I mean, I've only seen them online, but I've definitely... Is that Fader, I don't know, maybe that's what you're talking about, but I've seen some really little Gundams that look cool. Kale, the only the only Gundam Kale has watched is Neon Genesis. Sure. Yeah, you could do some interesting mashups between Valkyries and Gundams. I think I've seen people do that, especially and using the model parts for sure. So we want to take off any parts where the sprue left little bits. This part doesn't matter so much because he's going to have a gigantic shoulder pad covering it. And same thing down here. This is going to get covered up by the leg. But we want as smooth as possible. Metabots. Those are... Now, someone was saying that the build instructions for this weren't great because if you put the body together, then it's tough to get the head in there. Which kind of makes sense. But it definitely, I mean, the instructions definitely say to put it on at the end. Maybe it depends on which head you're putting in. Some of them obviously are going to be easier than others. But we can do that. So yes, it comes with 3 heads, a fully helmeted head, a fully unhelmeted head, and then one that's sort of like halfway. He's got like the lower mask and the sides. I'm obviously going with the fully helmeted head. So I think I'll just put this in at the same time that I do the rest. Because, oh yeah, there's no, how, that absolutely does not go in when it's fully, how? Ooh, that sucks that they didn't tell you to do that the right way. That's fucked up. Again, maybe the unhelmeted one is easier to get in there, but this absolutely does not fit the right way. Once, ooh, that's kind of crazy. Those jerks. Oh, Ruiner, how dare you? Hey, look, in Robotech, the pilots are young, but they're not little kids. Make sure my glue is going to cooperate today. It has been a week since I've used it. Looks good. What's the one? There's some Gundam series with, what is it, orphans in the title? Something like that? Is that one that people like? Oh yeah, that head is so snug in there. There's absolutely no chance of putting that in later. Iron-blooded orphans. Is that one that people like? I've heard people talk about that one. The only thing is I don't know which way I want the head to face. That's why I generally like to do the head last, so I can arrange it according to where the rest of the, like where the arms are pointed, and I don't know exactly how that's going to go with this one. So I'm going to try to match it to the box and have him generally look that way. All right, good enough. Gundams, but only fuckboys are the pilots. I think I've seen some of those. Melpomeno says, I've been wanting to get into watching a good mecha anime for a while, but I never know where to start. Evangelion was great, but I also like something a little less than that. Yeah, no, that's a good question, and if other people have thoughts or advice, I too would love to hear them. I like to talk about, if you're a fan of mecha anime, and especially if you've seen at least a few of them. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember very, very much enjoying a very short anime series called Godanner, which is not very popular. I don't know why, but Godanner is, it's a mecha anime, but it also makes fun of mecha animes. And so there's a lot of fan service and a lot of like iconic um like uh announcing what kind of attack the robots are going to do, but it also has like a really good story to it. Like the characters are really, yeah, Melpomeno, yeah, it is meta, in the sense of like it is commenting on that genre while also having the fan service and being silly at times. um yeah, I really love that one, and some of the mecha designs are really cool. So check that one out if you're into that kind of stuff and you've never heard of it. Especially, I have no idea where to find anime these days. I don't watch a lot of it, but that one I like. It's only partly a mecha anime series, but you cannot go wrong with Big O. Which is just one of the coolest, most stylish series that has ever been made. It's kind of like Batman, but he's also got a giant robot, and they're androids and weird stuff. It is very, very cool. Music is good. That's like an all-time great one. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes, Fadir. I have a couple of little itty bitty Big O toys. That a couple of companies made larger ones that are like super detailed and have all these moving parts and internal stuff. Exceedingly expensive, but at least I have a couple little ones. So I've got some on my shelves. All right, so we've got a little knee part that gets attached to this one, which is going to be part number 5. I thought it was this, but I guess not. This one. Okay. Some of these singular kits can be a little fiddly. This one just has a bunch of parts that you want to make sure everything goes together just right. I mean, it's a captain after all. Oh, so why did they introduce this captain? One of the big reasons is your leaders, your HQs, your special characters can take a number of special items, relics they're typically referred to. And one of the ones that it's not necessarily super strong, but it's thematic and it's fun, is a special version of a chain sword called the Teeth of Terra. So again, in 40k, it's no longer Earth, it's Terra. It's where the Emperor is. And essentially the rule is if you have a model that is using a chain sword, you can pay the points, quote unquote, swap it out for this special chain sword, the Teeth of Terra. But Primaris Space Marine captains can't take chain swords until now. So this one can take a chain sword. They've got it shown there. So this one can finally take that relic if you want it. Ooh, why is this not attaching at all? More glue, more glue. All right, that should do it. Does it want the glue on the bottom? Okay. Well, again, when in doubt, slather more glue on there. Okay, then we're going to attach it to this piece here. Yeah, I don't know if I like the angle that his head ended up in. Looks like I have a little bit of room to play in there. Not a lot. Oh well. Oh well, it's fine. I know, Batman could definitely use a giant robot. Well, it's kind of like Voltron in the sense that, there's like the regular foes, but then there's the one that you need the full giant robot to defeat. It's kind of like that. Big O is also known for its ending. I won't spoil it, even though the show is not new. But if any of you are actually interested in going to check it out, it it has one of the all time what the fuck endings. And again, like it seemed like there was gonna be more Big O after it potentially, but yeah, check it out. Relic's like a big old jar of custard. Sure. Okay, so we've got one leg. Let's get the other leg going. So the left hand on this model is set. He basically has a power fist with a bolt pistol attached to it. But the other arm, you have not one, not two, but three different options of what you could put on there. A chain sword, like I was talking about, a power sword, or just a power fist. And yes, this guy can dual wield power fists for all of the fisting action you could possibly want. Especially if you're a Warhammer player, you might be saying, well, wait a minute, why would you want two power fists? And this specific captain does have some special rules depending on which one of those weapons you give him. So he does get a bonus if he does have the second power fist. Like I said, for extra fisting action. Which one am I going to give him? I don't know yet. Definitely not the power sword, because I already have a Gravis captain with a power sword. I have two that I just showed you, one in blue and one in gray so far. So definitely not that version. Do I want double fists, or do I want the chain sword in case I ever want to do the Teeth of Terra relic, which again is sort of the point of this model. We will check it out once we get there, which will be pretty soon. All right, I need part 6 to go on his other leg, which is this one. All right, I see a vote for Chainsword. I'm thinking Chainsword. It looks pretty cool. I think the other Power Fist would just be a little too understated. You have to pay extra for double fisting. It's true. On the Discord, we were talking a little bit about Gen Con. Because again, they opened the hotel lottery system, which for all these conventions is super wild. I wrote this out in the Discord, but for my part, I would love to go to Gen Con. At this point, I do not know exactly what my plans are. I have applied to have a panel at Gen Con. The same kind of panel I've been doing at other conventions lately, and that I've done at the last 2 online Gen Cons. So I've applied for that. I assume I'll get it. It kind of seems like anybody who wants to do something at Gen Con gets a slot. I mean, they've got thousands of things going on all the time. I'm waiting to hear back when they open up the applications for the Artists Avenue section of the vendor hall to get a table there. The regular booths. So Gen Con works a little bit differently in their vendor hall than other conventions. They don't have an artist's alley really. It's a little bit different at Gen Con, but for the most part it's just standard booths, and they are very expensive. And this is from somebody who just did an official Comic-Con. I cannot afford a standard booth at Gen Con. I could not possibly sell enough of my book there to make that worthwhile. But if I can get an Artist Avenue table, that could be something. So, yeah. Now, first come, first serve on that are going to be people who signed up for the first Gen Con during the pandemic that didn't happen. So if all those people who signed up for that year come back, then they probably won't have any space unless they expand it, and then they might take a couple other people. So I'm waiting to hear back if they open up applications or a wait list. So whether or not either one of those things happens, if I'm approved for a panel, if I can get in the Artist Avenue, that will greatly affect whether or not I go to Gen Con. Also, Hyper, as of now, it does not sound like they are putting out a lot of Gen Con plans. Again, they are very, very busy over there with projects right now, and COVID concerns are still definitely in effect for them and for me. The last time I was at Gen Con, we did a bunch of stuff with Hyper, which was really cool. I'd love to do that stuff again. Just don't know if that's going to happen this time. So once all of those things start getting some actual answers, then I'll have a much better sense of, is Gen Con going to be right for me to go to this year, and so on and so forth. So there. Yeah, exactly, Rabbit Wombat. I do not at all fault the Hyper team for focusing on what they're focusing on right now, and they'll get to Gen Con stuff later. Because again, for regular attendees, ooh, which way does this go? This way. I was getting nervous when there's a fist part, but the thumb is attached to the other part, and you got to get it on right so that the thumb is in the right place. You don't want to get that wrong. Shoot, what was I saying? Last time, Hyper, lots of cool stuff. Oh, so for regular attendees, you really have to pay attention to when they open up the hotel blocks and stuff like that. If you're an organization or if you're doing stuff at one of these conventions, you have access to that stuff later on. You don't have to be quite as on top of it right at the very beginning. So like the fact that Hyper isn't getting hotels this weekend doesn't mean they're not going. They'll have access to that stuff through other means and ways. Potentially. Okay, so we've got our main dude. Now I've got this arm. It's going to point this way relatively. Slather some glue on there. Yeah, typically conventions will have hotel blocks and things for people who are having a bigger presence there, stuff like that. Not always. The Zoids dino is Gojulas. Oh, cool. Yeah, I think there are a few different dinosaurs in Zoids, right? Okay, that looks good. Boom. Arm looks a little scrawny at this point because he doesn't have his shoulder pad on there yet. And I guess... Okay, so now I'm at the point where I need to decide what I'm going to do with the other arm. Yeah, I mean, as fun as a second fist would be, I just don't think it would be all that impressive on this model. I think the chainsword is definitely going to be the way to go. And then we've got grenades to go on the belt. And an optional... What is that piece? 18. Oh, it's it's shells. Bolt shells coming out of the bolt gun on his hand. Do I need that? Oh, yeah, it's got an open ejection port. For the brass, right? That's what they call it. And not for nothing, a kit like this is going to leave me with some really good bits that I can use on future conversions and other models. See, added value. And of course, I'll let everybody know as I hear about Gen Con stuff, because I would, like I said, obviously I would love to go. I would love to see any and all of you who are planning on going. So hopefully it can happen. All right. This stuff is... I guess I should put the grenades on before the arm. So part 20 are 2 little grenades. It's a very small piece. It goes right next to his ass. His ass plate. And for that, I'm going to need some tweezers. But they actually sculpted a little slot where the grenades attach, which is nice. There are a fair number of Space Marines that have additional parts like grenades and things that you can attach to them, but you just kind of gotta just kind of like toss them on anywhere. So it's nice here that they actually mold a little space for them to go. And there we go. We got 2 little grenades next to his ass plate. All right, mighty chainsword arm. Cool. All right, I will finish this guy and then I'll get going. And again, if you haven't heard, 7 p.m. Pacific tonight over on the Jessica Nerdy channel. It will be Jessica. It will be me. It will be Solkatu. And we will be ranking the Muppets. Not in order of how funny they are. Not in order of how silly or progressive they are. No, we are ranking the Muppets in order of how much we want to have sex with them. This is not something you want to miss. Tell your friends. Tell the internet that they should come and witness the debacle that this stream will be. Who will win? Who is the most bangable Muppet in your estimation? In our estimation? What do you think? Do you think that we will agree? Do you think that there will be fights, contentions? Is it anybody's guess as to who the most fuckable Muppet is? Ruiner says, Dr. Teeth is #1 or I riot. I've seen a lot of mentions for Animal. And again, this will be like our normal list. We're not just going to throw out... Well, we're going to have reasons. We're going to go deep in the lore, deep in the model, the character designs. Demon Blight says, agree? Never. Rabid Wombat says, I predict it is going to be weird. I think that is entirely fair. Uh, Shidohara, yeah, I'm gonna get going here in just a minute. I'm just gonna finish this, but then again, we'll be on tonight at 7, and yeah, those streams don't have a set amount of time. All right, we're gonna get some shoulder pads on this bad boy. Ooh, but it tells me very specifically the order to do it. Can't just go willy-nilly with these shoulder pads. No. Kale says the one that is just a mouth. Melpomeno, you stop it with that. Gelflings have nothing to do with this event. We're not going to talk about them. They're not sexy. No, thank you. Right, I mean, yeah, all of Electric Mayhem is hot. Okay, so this wants me to do this shoulder pad and the cape before the other shoulder. I love... Okay, come on. Now, it's great when they tell you the sequence. Okay, do this before you do this, before you do this. But then why the fuck would they give you 2 number 1s and a number 2? If it's 3 things, give me a 1, a 2, and a 3. I don't want to do 2 parts at the same time. Give me an order to this. It's dumb. I will make it work, but that is annoying. Also, Rhino Shidohari, exactly. Also, just throwing this out there. Tonight is truly and definitively the last time we will have available the incentive for the Ouija board. It was going to be the other day, but then things happened. So tonight is the final time. If you want that Ouija board to happen, you know what to do. And I know some of you don't want it to happen, which is also really interesting. But this is, like I said, this is the final time that will be offered as a goal for the incentives. I want to do it. I know some people don't want to. Well, Jessica has a definite fear of the Ouija board. I mean, I'd say there's some interest there as well, but there is a fear. And again, some of our community members share that fear, but other ones definitely want to see her and I do it. Like I said, I want to do it. I want to see what spirits we can connect with. All right, so this side gets this. Oh shit. Okay, that should work. Alright, so the cape goes down under here, and it attaches very gently to the bottom of that shoulder pad. That's interesting. That's kind of a cool way to do it. So it attaches just there, and then to the back. So obviously, because he needs his backpack on over the cape, which, don't get me started on all the intricacies of Space Marine design. And then we'll get the other side on. Yeah, we're definitely not the first to have dabbled in Ouija boards and ghost stuff, but I think it would be pretty good. See what entities out there would like to talk to us. Okay. Well, that was easy. Pop that other one right on there. And then we've got the backpack with that has an... Oh, son of a bitch. God damn it. Thank God for plastic glue. You've never heard me say that, right? I put the I put the ammo coming out of the wrong port. I put it in the in port instead of the out port. Dumb. But again, thankfully I'm using plastic glue, so I was able to take it back out, and hopefully it should reattach to the new place. Oh, dumb. Good thing I didn't stop and finish it later, because otherwise it would have dried completely in there and not have been removable. See, even on a quote-unquote easy model like this, you can fuck it up if you don't pay really good attention to what you're doing. Not that that would ever happen to a master model builder like me. Oops. Oopsie. Yeah, and I know, yeah, they've done... There was the Seance. Well, and you have to assume that if Jessica and I were going to do Ouija, it would be a little bit different than the way... Because, yes, other people have done it, but we would make it unique. I have promised that I would not do any sort of premeditated tricks and traps. So I will. I gave my word. But like I said, I'm sure that we would make it special and well worth raising the money for it. And like I said, it's not a joke for just on stream. Jessica genuinely is afraid of it. But again, like if the community wanted to see it happen, she would do it. But she has concerns, let's put it that way. All right, last of the major pieces, the ammo belt that runs from the backpack / power plant to the fist with the bolter in it. That was kind of a gnarly connection to the sprue. Annoying. Alright, almost done here. Oh, hey, so on... Oh, I always forget that little piece. Okay, wait, which way does that go? There's a little hose. There's a little power line also, but that little dangly bob at the end, you actually have to cut that off. That's just like a little extra, a way to when they push the plastic into the mold, that's a little vent for it, basically excess plastic to come out. So you do have to cut that off. It's just at a really weird position, so I never know where the actual piece ends and that extra thing starts. So hopefully that should work. I think it will. And it's kind of awkward. So it plugs into the gun. It attaches to the back of the gun. And then you just kind of got to work it up to the connector. Connector. The piece ends and I begin. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're using super glue, that actually does happen. I've definitely glued myself using super glue, which is why it's very nice using plastic glue on plastic pieces. I hear there's some kind of sports thing happening tomorrow. I don't really know. If you're into sports, then have fun. Enjoy that. And also, a lot of people these days are using the Tamiya plastic glue, where it has the big open top and basically the cap has a brush attached to it, so you brush the glue on, which seems awesome, seems really cool. Except that that I've seen a couple people who have had a bunch of pieces laid out and they've accidentally knocked it over, and that one can spill out. This one really can't spill, so this definitely has one up on the Tamiya because of that, at least. I would try that glue. I mean, I genuinely I've never had a problem with the GW version. I really like it, but the Tamiya seems cool with the brush. I should try that one of these days. All right, so I need to hold this on for a second to get it to set in the exact right position. Again, so I'm kind of out of the loop with modern current anime. I didn't know if Attack on Titan was still really a thing and was really popular. And then at the end of last year, we did Los Angeles Comic Con. And holy crap, were there a ton of people in Attack on Titan cosplay. Like, okay, maybe second to Harley Quinn cosplay, and that's just everywhere these days. My mind was blown. I was shocked at how many there were. Because again, Attack on Titan has been around for years, and I remember when it first got really big here in the USA. Sounded weird. The USA. But I thought it had fallen off since then. But no, apparently it is still. The kids are still into it. No, it took 2 years to make season 2. Yeah. Well, that kind of stuff does happen. All right. So we have got all the major pieces, and the last thing is he's got a little friend, a little Servo Skull friend. You know what? Let's put him on his base while we're at it. Just the most glue. That should be good. Move it a little bit. Kind of want to center. What I've heard is you want to try to get the hips over the middle, so like the crotch right in the middle, but try to. Yeah, no, I've heard too that there's some sort of controversy with the creator and not such good stuff. The right size base for the right size unit. Maybe the base is compensated for something. Yeah, and that's another weird thing with Warhammer stuff is over the years they've changed the base size for some of the models. So technically, like this guy is no longer valid. He's on too small of a base. I would need to put him on a slightly larger base. That's a pain in the ass. For everywhere I play and the opponents that I would ever play against, doesn't matter. My kid is not going to give me shit about that. My friends, or if we do it on Hyper, they're not going to bother me. But yeah, I mean, if I was to go to a GW sanctioned tournament, that would be an issue. Oh, interesting, Kale. So yeah, because like I said, I've heard that there is some controversy, but I don't know exactly what it is or how it reflects or doesn't in the series itself. At one point, I knew some stuff about the series because I was writing catalog text for Kotobukiya when they had some Attack on Titan statues, so I had to do some research for that. Rabbit Woman says, I'm now envisioning your kid having a fit over you using the wrong size base. I mean, hey, with Benjamin, you never know. So this is a Servo Skull, one of the most grim, dark aspects of Warhammer 40k. And they are little things that fly around and help you out. You can use them as like a PA system. They're kind of made from skulls. It's a whole thing. So there you can see the skull with all these little tech bits. It's hard to focus on that whole thing. And then it gets attached to his backpack. Wait, how the hell does that attach? I like that. Ooh, that's not a great connection point. All right, we'll make it work. Maybe just like that. Okay, there we go. That looks better. There's a little bit too much glue in there. Let's clean some out. Oh, so this week, along with this Space Marine Captain in Gravis armor, there was another release, and it's basically like a new version of this guy. So it's another ancient with a banner. This one is okay. This one came out in the first in the starter set. So there's a new one that's a little bit more of a dynamic pose. Haven't decided if I'm going to get that one yet. It's another $35 model. It's kind of cool. Like this one was stock. Like you could just build it like this. The new one has some options. You can he can either be holding a sword or a gun or both hands holding the banner, which is kind of cool. Which kind of makes up for he's got a little bit of a weird pose. So I think that's probably the best option for that one. Like I said, I was very excited about this model. That one I haven't decided if I'm going to get yet. So here we have the new Chonk Master himself. Yeah, that chainsword looks pretty rad on this model. He's got the drip. He's got the accessories. Helmeted head in there. It's got the gun. It's firing. It's got the little bits coming out. It's connected to his backpack. It's got the Servo Skull up there to help him out. Whisper sweet nothings in his ear. The flowing cape. I like it. This is a cool model. This is good. Definitely a worthy evolution and improvement over this one. Let's see if we can get the focus. Focus. Almost. Come on, camera. Can I get a focus? Oh, so close. You almost had it. Oh, come on. There we go. So, the two Gravis captains. Nice. Yeah, I like it. Oh, and Kale said, the manga creator is conservative and deep into military history, but I think the people who make the anime try to subvert that. Oh, that's cool. I can definitely dig that when you take the original property that may have been created by an asshole and or somebody into weird shit, and then you subvert it and make it your own. We love to see that, which is again something that very frequently happens with H.P. Lovecraft stuff. All right, friends. Well, thanks everybody for watching.